Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. We're going to start with chapter 6, cognitive process. So first is the definitions of cognitions. Cognitive come from the word cognitions. So cognition is about how information is processed in human mind. As you can see in this photo that I put here, pictures that I put here. So cognition is referring to the informations that's processed by human mind. So cognition involve, there are many areas that cognitions involve. For example, productive thinking, concept formations, memory, language, intelligence, problem solving, decision making, and creativity. So all these areas are related to the use of cognitions or human higher mental process. So metacognition is a person's ability to monitor his or her own thinking. So we have the ability to monitor our own thinking. For example, while we are thinking, we can monitor whether to say something that is not good to someone. So even though we want to say something not good to someone because we know it will hurt other people feeling, so we tend to monitor our own thinking. So we'll be able to monitor our own thinking. So the ability of person to monitor our own thinking is called metacognitions. This ability is called metacognitions. So thinking, when we talk about thinking, thinking starts with an undirected flow of ideas, concept, and plan. So when we think, we have so many flows of ideas, concept, plan, and so on. So these ideas sometimes comes indirectly. So, it's kind of the flow is in the way of unorganized way. So that's the thinking, because when it's like you brainstorming something, you brainstorming about the problems. So when you think, when you brainstorming, so the ideas come, but it sometimes it's not in organized way. So you sometimes have to organize your thinking, your ideas into the organized way. So thinking is normally start with an undirected flow of ideas, concept, and plan. They are not necessarily productive. When we talk about thinking, we talk about the ideas, the concept that come to our mind. Sometimes it is in the undirect third way, especially at the beginning, and these ideas, plan, whatever thinking that you might have, may not necessarily productive. Sometimes you just brainstorming something, and then the ideas that come from this brainstorming, sometimes it's not really productive, but sometimes it can be something productive. So I put in this diagram here. So thinking involve start with the undirected flows of concepts, ideas, and plans. So when we talk about thinking, there's three things: concept, ideas, and plan. So productive thinking, if thinking produce new relations and connection with the existing knowledge, then we can say it's productive. So if it is not related or connected with the information or knowledge that we already have, then it is not productive. So basically, productive thinking is related to the informations or to the knowledge that we already have or stored in our existing mind. So here it become productive when we be able to link the new informations with the already have information that's stored in our mind or our memory. So productive thinking lays the foundations for concept formations, solid memory, language developments, developments of intelligence, problem solving, decision making, creative thinking. So as you can see here, productive thinking is a starting point of so many important areas when we talk about cognitions. If we want to talk about higher mental processes, so it's a very important foundations for later areas of knowledge. So one of the concept in productive thinking is concept formations. So concept formation is basically a mental representations of a category. So for example here, this category, the first one is consists of square, round, rectangular, and also consists of different kind of colors, different kind of shapes. So mental representations, if you have mental representation, you might want to categorize these shapes or these different colors into based on the same shapes or based on the same colors. So mental representation is what is meant here, is by putting things into their own categories. So let's say I put the example here. First is this category is in terms of the same shape, and then second is in terms of the same color. So category concept formation is mental representations of a category. So prototypes are another thing that relate to a concept formation is prototypes. So prototypes exhibit the typical feature of a particular category. So when we talk about prototype, we talk about something similar. For example, if we want to say teacher, what kind of similarities among teachers? What kind of similarities among, for example, lecturers? So here I give an example. What normally come to your mind when we talks about the manager. So according to textbook, it says that, for example, managers normally wear suit or tie. So typical people concept of boss or manager, they typically wear suit or tie. So if you see this kind of person, you can generalize that they belong to the positions of boss or managers. So this suit and tie is the category or the prototypes or the similarity in terms of group of boss or managers. For example, if you see here, when I talks about the someone who wearing suit and wearing tie, so you can know that this person is the manager or this person is the boss or some high in ranking. So here at the organization, as you can see, the boss normally everyone wearing tie, but the boss also wearing tie and suits on the field like a football match. If you see someone wearing tie, for example, if we watch it Liverpool versus Manchester United or whatever match, you can see someone wearing tie on the grounds, I mean on the field. You can see that's maybe the managers or the boss. And also you can see here normally managers wearing ties or suits. So here you can differentiate that. You can make a conclusions that this is the prototype of the boss. That means the similarity among all the boss or managers, they have the same prototype, or we call it the same similarity. So normally if people use prototype, it's referring to this the same similarity in the group. Okay, schemas is another mental structure. Is indicate what is essential about specific category. So it's more general than prototype. Prototype you can know, for example, if teachers, I read somewhere on the Facebook during these restricted movements, the police and the army asked someone who on the car and where he gonna go, and then this the person who got asked by the army and also the policeman where he's going to go because he's on the car, and then he explained his answer for quite long, and then this army and the policeman said, you must be a teacher. So you can see from there that a teacher has some typical prototypes of their characteristics. For example, they may answer perhaps it should be answered like a one words or two words, but normally teacher will explain in length so that their students could understand. So if someone else apart from the student asking the teachers where, for example, simple question where he's going to go, and this teacher normally will explain in length, so the policeman and army would know the positions or the professions of these persons. That means he's a teacher because the way he answered the question. So as you can see here, prototype is also has some similarity in terms of position, in terms of professions. Schemas is more general than prototypes. Schemas is also mental structure like a prototypes, but prototype is more specific. Schemas is more general. So schemas is a mental representations that can be used to organize informations. So these are moving on to most important topics or to most interesting topics is about memory. So memory consists of three types. Sensory memory is the first one, short-term memory second one, long-term memory is the third one. So sensory memory normally come from the senses. We have five senses. We have nose, ears, eyes, taste, and also touch. So these are five of our senses, and our sensory memory, that's mean after we touch, at the point we touch, we have that kind of memory that be able to hold. When we touch something, we could feel the texture of the surface of thing that we touch. So that point is going back to our memory, so we could remember very short period of time. It's not only a few seconds. That's sensory memory. So sensory memory, as you can see here, is coming from the senses, from the sensory organ, and then that sensory memory is very short. You could only remember this sensory memory is very short, very compared to the rest of the durations of memory. Sensory memory is very short. So moving on to sensory memory, so I will explain in detail, a little bit detail about sensory memory. So sensory memory is our memory regarding information that we receive from our sensory organ. So when we talk about sensory memory, it's the memory that we hold after our senses sense something outside or something using our sensory memory. So sensory memory hold informations that entered from the senses. The senses mean from the five senses for just a few seconds. Few seconds mean very short. We cannot remember, for example, after you hear something, after that you cannot remember exactly the sound, even though you remember the meaning, but you didn't exactly remember the sound, the pitch, everything. So that's why it says where for a few seconds only you can remember. And also after you smell, after the at the time you smell, of course you can remember what kind of smell, but after the smell's gone, you cannot exactly remember like the smell that you just smell or just pass. You cannot remember exactly. You can remember just a few seconds after the experience passed. So this sensory memory register what a person touch, what a person hear, what a person taste, feel, the touch. Because it's from our sensory organ, so it just register after the experience pass. That means after we touch the things, after we heard, after we taste, we can only be able to hold the informations for a short while regarding the sensory memory. So this experience are lost because we only remember them for a few brief moments. That's the problem with the sensory memory. We cannot hold this memory for a long time. However, there are some extraordinary persons or people who could have a bit longer in terms of holding sensory memories, but in general, we can only hold sensory memory for a very short period of time.